Oh, what's going on, people? Welcome, welcome, welcome.
What's going on, guys?
What up?
What's going on?
What's going on, people? Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Hey,
We got an echo going on.
I don't know.
What's going on, people?
Wasn't me.
Got it figured out.
No, I think.
It's all good.
All right.
Got it figured out.
I don't know.
No.
What?
It's all gravy, man.
It's not me. I don't think. Is it Gerard?
They both muted.
Yeah, I was muted. It's you, Darvell.
It can't be me. I've been unmuted the whole time. I'm
Must
still
be
unmuted.
Gerard. So,
Anyway, welcome y'all.
Gerard, unmute.
He ain't laughing. Quit laughing.
What's going on, y'all? Let's go ahead and kick it off.
Yeah, so let's get it going. Hey, if you're watching for either YouTube or Facebook, share and like this video. Subscribe to our YouTube channel because we will not always be popping up on Facebook. We will not always be on my Facebook or my YouTube. We're going to be only specifically on the Freedmen's Collective YouTube channel. So make sure you get in there, subscribe, like, and share this video. That's the big deal. So welcome to episode 9. This is the Panic for Reparations. We need you to panic right now. I don't know if you agree with that. Ernest, why don't you kick it off and introduce yourself and Stedman next?
Yep. What's going on, y'all? This is Ernest. I know y'all, like I always say, thank you for tuning in. And we just want to get into this dialogue with y'all. So make sure you drop a comment and hit that thumbs up.
Hey, what up? This is Stedman. Yeah, just have a dialogue, man. Panic for reparations. Let's hit the panic button. Let's get to work.
The panic button is on fire. All right. So we are having a little technical difficulty here. Gerard's having an audio issue, but I don't know.
Oh, you putting it on me? All right. Let
it is you. Hear that double time now. It's you.
All right.
It is you. It's gravy, man.
Yeah, right. It's good. I don't know what you got going on, Gerard.
Let me leave and I'll come back in there.
Sounds so nice. You want to hear it twice.
I don't know. Listen, if it's me, please catch me. Anyway, we're going to get into this. We got to get to the local beat though, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So one thing y'all going to know and y'all going to want to pay attention to before we get into the local beat is that we do a call-in show here. So there is an easy to access call-in number for you to hop on the line. You see it scrolling across the bottom of the screen right now. So make sure if you want to get in on this conversation, especially when we start talking about HR 40, that's your ticket into the session with us. And we're going to have the discussion. All right. So make sure you call in. And if you don't want to call in, tell one of your friends to call in. Or all of y'all in a family get together and y'all get on one phone and call in,
Tap in.
We don't have the dialogue, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. So, Stedman, listen, man, I got a question for you, though, sir. Listen.
Yeah.
What is going on? What's going on with this University of Michigan situation, man? I heard they got a grant. That's what I need to understand. What's up with this grant they got, man?
So the U.S. News. So there's some articles out. Detroit Free Press, U.S. News. They got a couple different articles talking about Michigan has been by Michigan. I mean University of Michigan Ann Arbor has been granted. I think 2 $5 million grants from the Carnegie Foundation. I mean not Carnegie, because Carnegie Mellon. The Mellon Foundation, the Andrew W. Mellon Foundation. And what everybody has said, because this is interesting, I just looked at it again on this article from U of M. They say that they're racial justice or racial equality studies, where on the University of Michigan's website, it says it's a reparation study.
What?
A community initiative reparation study. So essentially what they're looking for, I'll read directly from the text. So the first paragraph, it says, today, so Ann Arbor, Michigan, December 13, 2020, Today, the Andrew W. Mellon Foundation has announced the award of a $5 million grant to the Center for Social Solutions, CSS, at the University of Michigan partners, including the Center for Poverty Solutions and University Musical Society. As part of the foundation's Just Futures initiative, the project will span 3 years, creates and leverages a national network of colleges and university-based humanities scholars working in partnerships with community-based organizations. So those are, it's a university-based research and community-based organizations. So that's kind of a nice thing because I think it's about 9 colleges. They're listed on the bottom around the country, primarily in the East Coast and the South. And they have Michigan in the Midwest and I can't remember who else. Okay. But that'll give opportunity for local groups to get involved in this research as far as the dialogue on reparations. But what they're saying is they want to develop research-informed reparations plans for each location. The network will consist of 9 geographically, so it's 9, dispersed in organizationally different colleges and universities and involve community fellows as well as local organizations in a collaborative public history reckoning designed to offer tangibles, suggestions for community-based racial reparation solutions.
That's
and
interesting.
So, yeah. Jumping right in.
Oh, no, I was going to say, so are they they're not trying to undercut the scope of the federal reparations initiative, right? They're thinking that there's local reparations due.
Yeah.
From what I could gather from reading it, I got that impression that they were trying to simultaneously work on a local level reparations model to see, because they say community-based and localized or regionalized. So it leads me to believe that they're trying to focus on something specific for each different region. So not necessarily that this one local plan is going to be the platform for everybody in every state and locality, but just on a local level trying to address some specific reparations needs. Like, for example, the colleges that are in here. So you got Carnegie Mellon, which is in Pittsburgh. You got Emory, which is in Atlanta. Rutgers in New Jersey. So Rutgers University, Newark. So the Newark branch. Spelman College, which is in Georgia. The Council of Independent Colleges. Now that's just the council, I'm imagining. Connecticut College, Connecticut. Concordia College in Minnesota. Wesleyan College in Macon. You see what I'm saying? So they're Georgia, East Coast, and you got Wofford in South Carolina. So it's primarily Michigan is like the outlier, really, where it's located. But I think what they're trying to do is just look at on a local level how they can approach reparations as it needs to be done, especially like you see the South and the East Coast, because those are former 13 colonies. Really, so Michigan and Minnesota are kind of the outliers.
That's interesting. Yeah,
it is. I think I guess I gotta, for me, when they mention community-based organizations, I wonder who they're thinking there or who's qualified to speak up on that.
And see, they haven't. I couldn't find any information that specifically went into details about how they're going to expect to vet local organizations or how they were going to find local organizations. So I'm thinking if you have an organization, at least in Michigan or any of these places, if you know anybody who lives in these states, and you want to share this information with them, the link will probably be in the description for this article, and then so it's going to be through the Just Futures, like the Just Futures part of the the Mellon Foundation. It's like the Just Futures is what it says, and Just Futures is primarily an immigration policy arm of the Mellon Foundation. So what they say is the goal of our proposed research, this is their mission, is to document the organizational life of immigrants in Southeast Michigan and their functions and social spatial relations, using community-based participatory approaches with data from surveys, interviews, visual ethnography, and GIS mapping, the legitimacy of immigrant organizations and their actions to advance equity and inclusion for their immigrant constituencies are strengthened only insofar as they are understood and recognized and afforded resources and support for capacity building and coalition building. Amidst amplifying anti-refugee and anti-immigrant sentiments in the United States, attention to and supporting visibility and mobilization of immigrant civil society are all the more critical. So initially, give me 1 second.
Oh.
Initially, I was kind of apprehensive about it because I saw that, and I'm wondering, are they sincerely trying to look for reparations for the descendants of enslaved people, or are they looking for reparations as far as for immigrants or injured people more recently by the U.S. government? And in the article from U of M, it says specifically for descendants of slavery. It does mention African Americans and African people, but it mentions that in the context of slavery. So, I mean, this is something we should even consider trying to get involved with, on that policy side.
Yeah, I agree with you there. It'll be interesting to see where this goes because, with that organization having that type of mission statement, and I could easily see it going way left where, maybe they're using our history and things like that to justify why others are deserved reparations, or at least racial reparations,
right,
in America.
Right.
So, which is interesting, I would say.
And one of the things they bring up is they talk about that reparations is going to need to include a lot of different things. It's not just money. Mm-hmm. They mention a national apology, educational, housing, and healthcare programs, and financial redress from the U.S. government. And it mentions Native Americans for genocide and African Americans for the detrimental effects of slavery and beyond. So, I mean, at least on the surface, it seems like they're really trying to get to the root of the issue concerning reparations programs, what they need to look like, how people feel about them in local areas, and how we can be involved in kind of shaping that narrative, or at least the policy, not necessarily, the policy itself, the programs themselves, so.
So, I mean, are they looking at, what's going to be the product? Just like white papers, or they're actually, Well,
what they said they were trying to do is create like a plan or something. Let me see if I can find it. They said they were trying to create a let's see. Okay, so the success of this pilot will create scalable models for university community partnerships, which focus on social justice, specifically addressing local nuanced reparation solutions. So the effort and activities of this project will span the eastern half. So, like I said, with the regions, and so that's what they're trying to do, essentially scalable models with different university community partnerships. So, I mean, they're trying to replicate this around the country in these areas to, I guess, to attempt to, I don't want to say create a dialogue because we've got a dialogue with this right here, but to get the ball rolling on maybe trying to build grassroots support for reparations at the state level so that you can kind of, because, they always say, like, if you want something done federally, you have to get local support for it. Rarely do the average people get to have a federal bill without local support. So maybe this is an attempt to bring, like grassroots support along with a push for H.R. 40 to kind of come together to make a movement for reparations that actually has some foundation, and it's not just,
You would hope to be that, but based on the wording and what they were saying, it sounds like it's not. It sounds like they're trying to create local solutions that are scalable. So, like they're so the language and how I read that, doesn't tie to legislation. The fact that they're talking about community and institutional partnerships, that's not government. In the sense of, pushing for, legislation or what have you, or governmental institutions, maybe, in the sense of, colleges or what have you. That's good and all. But if it's not, to me, it sounds like, okay, we're going to try to do something locally. We'll come up with a local solution, and then we could see if we could scale it in other areas. But it's not, getting that federal governmental buy-in. That's what I get out of it, and I think it's a real danger in actually entertaining these type of ideas that are not saying, hey, the ultimate end goal is federal reparations, because that's really the only way you could truthfully do it any real justice. Now, if they were saying, HR, if I saw HR 40, if I saw these things that you.
Oh no. Well, I'm not saying specifically with HR 40, but I'm saying more so like just trying to increase local awareness about reparations and the feasibility process, and looking at the ways it could be realized at a local level. Because like I said, even though federally for that kind of money, you would need the federal government to issue it, even if you can find that certain states have a legal responsibility to pay. I still think that there are enough people who don't believe that reparations is possible, that this may be beneficial for. I'm trying to be optimistic. I told you, I'm always real skeptical about this stuff.
Yeah, I used that. Yeah.
If they was talking about awareness, I would say, yeah, sure, but that's not what it's talking about. It's talking about solutions. I just go off of, I'm a type of person that just goes off of face value, par value, and what it's saying instead of like, trying to think what they might be behind the scenes. I don't know. I could just go off of what you're saying.
That's why I said we're gonna have to follow this one and see what happens with it.
Yeah.
You guys agree? Yeah. Yep. But
wow.
I mean, you guys, speaking of HR 40, I mean, Gerard, you wanted to jump into our, I guess our next topic.
Yeah, so HR 40 explain plus predictions. That's what that's our topic for today. I believe we have a YouTube to watch, right, Darvell?
We do have a quick video for the people. So we want to get everyone primed on the real basis of why we even need to be having this discussion. This is a very important discussion, and it's the meat of what we're going to talk about today. And it's very important that people understand why reparations is still the only and the inescapable solution to the myriad of problems we're suffering from in America. So we're going to take a quick minute here and look at something very brief put together by our own Ernest. So please make sure you follow him on YouTube and get your education in. So let's give it a few with Ernest's video.
One of the key things that is at the heart of my thinking about the reasons why we have to have a reparations program, and it's a reparations program specifically for Black Americans who are descendants of persons who were enslaved in the United States, is because there are three phases of American history that are associated with a range of deep atrocities that were directed against the Black community. And it's those atrocities that merit or demand restitution. The first phase is the obvious one, which is the period of enslavement, which ranged from 1776 to 1865. The second is the period that lasted for almost 100 years following the end of the Civil War of legal segregation in the United States. And then the third is the ongoing damages that have been inflicted on Black Americans in the period after the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. And here I would include mass incarceration. I would include police killings of unarmed Blacks. I would include employment discrimination. And I would include perhaps what's most dramatic from my standpoint as an economist, the enormous racial gulf in wealth between Blacks and whites in the United States. So the U.S. government is the culpable entity. And the reason it's the culpable entity is because it established the legal and authoritative framework that made it possible for all of these atrocities to take place. If you look at the founding documents for the United States, the founding documents engrave in them the legality of slavery. If you look at the period of Jim Crow in the United States, there was no existing national legislation that was in place that would prevent the operation of acts of legal segregation both in the North and in the South. If you look at the current situation, there's no action that's being taken by the federal government to curb police violence that's directed against unarmed Blacks. there's no steps that have been taken to compensate people who have lost family members as a consequence of that violence, nor have there been any steps taken to compensate people for being subjected to unjust or unwarranted incarceration. So it's actually there's a national responsibility that's in operation here, and the national responsibility has to be met by the federal government.
Yeah,
That was a great illustration, great video.
appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes. So we understand now kind of why we need to be having this discussion, right? I think people get that actual thing wrapped around their heads. This is inescapable. So I'm going to pull up the text of the bill. Gerard, you want to just talk about HR 40 for a second, kind of tell people kind of what it is, where it came from?
Okay, so HR 40, House Resolution 40, is an actual bill that was introduced every year. It started in '89, actually, by our former Congressman John Conyers of the 13th District. He actually, the impetus for him to introduce this bill, and this is a bill to study the possible, possibility of reparations for, all of the inherited disadvantage that the Adolf community has gotten. It's just to begin. It's not tied to any money. It's just a feasibility study. And what prompted Congress to do this, because the year prior is when the Japanese Americans received their reparations for the what they had suffered, being put in internment camps during World War II. So they had received that, I believe, in 1988. If I'm correct, if I'm wrong, that's all. But I believe that was his impetus for wanting to go ahead and introduce that. He introduced the bill every year, and it was never, taken into committee. It went nowhere, and so when John Conyers was the most senior. He was at the time of his retirement. He was the most senior Democrat, if not, a House Representative member in the Congress. And once he had retired, Sheila Jackson Lee of Texas, I believe, her district is in Houston. She picked up the mantle and reintroduced HR 40, I believe, in 2019. That is what I can give from out of memory. So,
yeah. So I guess what we got here right now is essentially the bill in its actual state today. As you said, Gerard, as you point out very clearly, it had been carried by John Conyers, but then Sheila Jackson Lee took it up after his departure. So one of the big things about this bill at this point is it started to get traction that it never had. And they had a hearing in 2019. It was open to the public in the Judiciary Committee, where they reviewed the bill and brought in a number of guests, specialists, to speak on this bill and the real case for reparations, right? We had a lot of great people. I believe they even brought in Ta-Nehisi Coates for that one at that point, right? I believe he was at 2019, wasn't he?
Yeah, I believe so. Him, Danny Glover, some other people. There was some pros and cons against it.
Danny Glover.
They brought in a cast of characters, didn't they?
Some black Puerto Rican guy who I never heard of, and some other guy I never heard of who talked against it.
Yeah, but what's interesting about it is that the bill was the bill formally got its feet during the 116th session of Congress. And so now we're actually at the 117th, and it had to be reintroduced in January. So on January 4th, the bill that's currently on your screen was formally introduced. And it has, and I've analyzed this bill versus the prior version. It doesn't really have any edits. There have been mostly grammatical changes, and that's it. It's basically dead on the same bill that was being tossed around then. So we're just going to look at it so people understand kind of what this bill is going to do. To Gerard's point, the bill is not a reparations bill. It's a bill to create a committee. That's the most salient point you need to remember about HR 40. And it's relevant to have a committee because we need it studied by an officially sanctioned government body so they can have on record just how much debt is owed, right? So we got to let them do this, but we can't let them get away with some silly stuff when they come back with their results. And we got to keep our eye on them throughout this process. But part of what they can do is governed by this bill, HR 40. So the commission has been formed to address the fundamental injustice, cruelty, brutality, and inhumanity of slavery in the United States and the 13 American colonies between 1619 and 1865, and to establish a commission to study and consider a national apology and proposal for reparations for the institution of slavery, its subsequent de jure and de facto racial and economic discrimination against African Americans, and the impact of these forces on living African Americans, in order to make recommendations to Congress on appropriate measures and for other purposes. That is the purpose of HR 40 as a bill, is what I just read there at the very top. And this bill is available on, of course, our lovely government website, congress.gov. Just look up HR 40 and make sure it's the 117th Congressional Session version. First session of the 117th Congress. So looking at a few selective quotes here, one thing they state here under the purpose of this commission, right? It's following the abolition of slavery. The United States government at the federal, state, and local levels continue to perpetuate, condone, and often profit from practices that continue to brutalize and disadvantage African Americans, including sharecropping, convict leasing, Jim Crow, redlining, unequal education, and disproportionate treatment at the hands of the criminal justice system, which is something we still see today. And that's why you see a lot of us talking about this so strongly, that there is a numerous stack of violations being committed against our community that drive this case in a way that you cannot deny, you cannot get in the way of. However, as a result, go ahead, Ernest.
No, I was going to jump in and just say, it's a large system, and we really, when we think about this thing, we can't have true justice without reforming the courtroom, reforming, the law enforcement system we currently have in place. And then at the same time, when we think about racial justice, like reparations is the only racial justice that matters for those who descend from freedmen in America, because everything else is just it sounds nice, but it's not there's nothing of substance. So that's all I want to add in there.
Yeah, there's symptoms to what to your point, Ernest. Reparations is going to deal with the root cause, where everything else is contributing factors or just symptoms of the main issue.
And that's not to say that there are not other true Black agenda items that exist outside of the reparations package. It's just that reparations deals with the core of it that creates the problems that people deal with every day for the most part. Because otherwise, without with reparations in place, if we had made these atrocities whole and had made these corrections, you would be dealing with typical life of a white person, to be honest with you. As crazy as that sounds, I'm saying like you'd be more considered like an average American. And then we have other laws we still need to do. So it's the racial wealth gap, matter of fact, right?
Yeah, quality.
I would say the racial lineage wealth gap. That's a key point to make. That's not just racial wealth gap. It's a racial lineage wealth gap in our case, because when you disaggregate the flat blackness, you will see that those who descend from freedmen, and those who are from chattel slavery, that we are in a unique position behind, whereas our Black brethren that come to this country who avoided all of that aggregated disadvantage, they are definitely leaps, if not bounds, ahead of us, because they don't carry that baggage that our lineage brought to us by not being able to do these wealth transfers. So
that's very salient. So everything that this bill talks about, well, in its spirit, and we're going to get into the technicalities now, but in the spirit of reparations, what we're really trying to deal with is what Gerard said, that lineage wealth gap, right? Because at the end of the day, before 1965, these were all black people in the country, for the most part, were descendants from the formerly enslaved people of this country, or freedmen, right? So when you're a descendant and then all of a sudden we have an influx of our brothers and sisters from other countries who don't carry the same baggage, and in fact may be even looked upon in a more favorable fashion under certain circumstances, you start to see a divide in the wealth positionality of the native Black group versus those who descend or are immigrant Blacks, right? So when you go and you run some of the math in some of the major cities, there are reports out there that show very clearly that even Black immigrants have more wealth than the native Black family.
Yep.
And that's the dangerous thing that you can have mixed into the data pool when you're trying to make a case for reparations that's driven by people who are descendants of slavery. Go ahead.
And fundamentally, immigration and the impact of immigration has to be understood through the lens of the effect on the Black community. So understanding immigration as a at least in America, as a rationing process, what you find is that, like I was watching the Funky Academic, Army Osei Frimpong, he had a show, and he says what happens with this rationing process of immigration is that you'll have a situation where America is essentially able to pick and choose the types of people it wants to come into the country. It's commonly known as, brain drain, where you take the most educated or talented individuals from a country and they move, they expatriate to somewhere else, and so that drains that resource, the intellect from that country. And so he broke it down like this. He said in California, where he's from, you're looking at I think he said 50% of Asian immigrants have degrees, or Chinese immigrants, he may have said. But he said in China, only 2% of the population has degrees. So when you see that kind of breakdown, where America is able to say we want only the best and the brightest to immigrate here, you create a system when you use words. And this is why, even with the last article, the last topic, as far as this program, the Just Futures, having such a strong immigrant focus is alarming, given the subject that they're trying to undertake with reparations, is because they're able to take diversity quotas that were intended to be for descendants of chattel slavery in America, and then give those resources to better qualified immigrants, even if they're not Black at all, because they fit the diversity quota or the minority quota. Even white women being the primary beneficiary of affirmative action program,
Yeah.
So
yeah, we want to start to wrap up on this one. We got a lot in this bill, but it's not actually a long bill. It's only 14 pages when it's double spaced with the huge margins they put on the formal bill, as you see here. But they are trying to take up the task of doing the math, of doing the research, getting the history pulled together, and they're wanting to make recommendations in alignment with international standards for remedy of the wrongs and injustices caused by the state or the government, including full reparations and special measures as understood by various relevant international protocols, laws, and findings. So what they're referring to, without directly stating it, is they're looking at historical programs such as, the Holocaust and the reparations for the victims of the Holocaust, as well as things laid out by the United Nations, specifically the UN High Council for Human Rights. I think it's the Council for Human Rights. So they have a really strong guide on reparations and compensation for victims of human rights violations, which our entire community has been, the entire community has been victim of human rights violations in this country from 1619 all the way to this very minute. And so that's why this commission is supposed to do that. But like everyone's saying, if the specificity of reparations is specific to lineage, we need to make sure we hold this group accountable to make sure that's what they come out the door with, because it's not written into the bill, which is kind of dangerous. So they almost like they got a blank check in a sense. They can go in and come back out with whatever they think is right. But what they say is right is the strong recommendation to the Senate or the Congress to take up. So. But I'm going to show one other thing. It's the list of people who are coming to the hearing. So the 117th Judiciary Committee the 117th session of the House of Representatives, which is in session now, tomorrow on the 17th, on Wednesday the 17th at 10:30 a.m., I believe. Let's see. They will be having the hearing. No, it's 10 a.m. tomorrow. They will be having a hearing through the Subcommittee on Constitution, Civil Rights, and Civil Liberties to review this bill and to have guest speakers come in and discuss this bill. Unfortunately, they don't have the greatest guest speakers necessarily. I don't think, from what we see, the witnesses that they're bringing in. So that's something to keep in mind as we look at this, watching what they say, because the last time we went around and we talked about this bill, right? The people who they brought in surprisingly had some things to say that nobody really wanted to agree with, right?
Whoa.
Larry Elder.
Walker.
Larry Elder said something crazy.
What's a football player need? What's his expertise on this subject?
Yeah, this is what we got right now.
Larry Elder said something.
These are the witnesses for tomorrow.
Yep.
Well, Herschel Walker is against. We know that because he's a Republican.
Larry Elder is against.
Right. He's a conservative from what I read as well. I don't know about
putting it lightly. If you
So
look
it's a
up
lot
Larry
of
Elder,
unknown.
he's like somebody created a character of Uncle Ruckus. That's like that's who he is. Like Uncle Ruckus is based off of him. And I forget the other guy, Ward Connerly. Like that's who Uncle Ruckus is.
Wow.
It's Ward Connerly and Larry Elder.
What are your predictions for this bill, Gerard?
My
What do you think will happen with it?
My predictions is it's going to definitely pass. It's going to make it out of committee. It's going to pass because this will be the dodge for the Biden administration for not doing anything specifically for black people, specifically and only for black people. So they can say, hey, I support HR 40 and my administration all behind HR 40. A commission to study reparations, not to actually do anything like that. So this will be a dodge, so it will definitely pass. As far as the commission, because that's all this is. There's no money at all. So it passed.
The only money that's in this bill, man, is that salary for them GSA teams.
Yeah, the only money that's in the bill is for those who conducting the study, and it's indefinite. There's no time limits. There's no nothing. So we could be on this for like 10, 15, 20 years milking this one out.
They establish a timeline.
You think it's going to get the votes in the Senate?
Yeah. I do believe, man, because I mean, here's the thing. The push, the reason why again I say that is because there is a concerted since the last election, and it doesn't seem like so far that people are backing up. They're asking for tangibles, and there's a lot of pushback against this administration and against the Democrats. It's been a lot, and it's going to continue to be a lot. So going into 2022, where they're with Trump being acquitted twice double time, they are definitely looking at probably a slaughter come 2022. So they cannot lose this black constituency, right? Mm-hmm. So because of more black people are peeling off like they have been slowly peeling off from the Democratic gravy train, then ultimately that could bring losses in 2022. They could possibly lose the Senate and also lose the House and just have a contentious 2 years left, right? So they want to be able to point to something specifically, saying, hey, we did this for you guys specifically, you know what I'm saying? And they want to point that this is going to be, they're shining, hey, we're talking about it. And this, they're already trying to do that with, claiming that black businesses are going to get money in this stimulus package.
Yeah. I got.
We got
prediction. Are we all doing them or not?
Oh,
yeah.
Go ahead.
If we're not as good.
No, go ahead. Shoot it.
Go ahead, man. You shoot.
I got all 50 Republican votes going no, and then I got what's his name, Joe Manchin in West Virginia. He's a Democrat. I got him saying no. That's 49. That's 49 Democrats. And then Kamala, she's not gonna do it because she's not gonna do anything that only benefits black people. She done already said that.
Ooh.
So that's it. That's my guess.
I say this: if it is passed, we're gonna have to fight like hell to get that specificity because it's important that we disaggregate ourselves before it's all said and done. So that's all I say on that.
That is very true. But I think, Gerard, you touched on a very important point, though. You said something about they're going to lose people, and you spoke of Trump. But, I mean, Trump just got impeached. Like, they just ran his hearing. Is that Teflon Don, or what happened, man?
I think so, man. We need to call him the new Teflon Don, man. It's something about the New Yorkers, bro. It just don't stick. You know what I'm saying? It just don't stick, man. Yeah. That leads us to our next topic, man. Trump and the 14th Amendment.
Yeah, we got to get into that.
Yeah, we gotta talk about that, man. Let's bring it up, man. So yeah, we got him. Look at it, Trumpy in his Trumpiest face. You know what I'm saying? And so for the second time, the inept Democrats.
My bad. we gotta call her.
We gotta call her. Okay, let's take her in. Let's do it.
Let's get the caller in. My bad. Let's go on ahead and do that real quick because we want to make sure our people get in on the discussion. So let me go ahead and pull them in. So caller calling from 469. Hang on tight, and when you hear yourself in the room, go on ahead and let us know what you're all about. Let me unmute our caller. Let's wait for him to get over here. Boy, there she go.
Do I have to press that?
Are you on? Are you there?
I am here.
Hey, what's up, live caller? How you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. I was just listening to you guys had a conversation. Specifically, I'm sitting over here laughing about the Herschel Walker. So you put a guy who clearly has CTE on the panel making decisions for African Americans, right? Like that's what we get, man. When we start putting other people in charge of who's going to make decisions for us, right? They say, "Hey, Herschel, get over here, man. After your 3,000 hits to the head, you come over here. You can make decisions for black people now, right? Because we're going to give you some money and." So make sure you got some health insurance, nigga.
I guess hard times, huh? You know a little bit about hard times.
It's difficult. Yeah,
what else?
Yeah. You know what? I love about you guys is that you guys get so specific, right? When it comes to the bills that are affecting black people locally and the things that they should actually get involved in. Because, a lot of people say, well, what are we going to do? Hey, it's always that question, right? When you have these discussions in a barbershop or when black people are discussing how do we move forward or how do we make progress, it's always that, well, we got to do this and we got to do that. No specifics. There's never any specifics. I always say when people are lying, they never use specifics. When people aren't going to do anything, they never use specifics. That's what you need to be looking for at all times. Specifics. Okay? When somebody telling you a story, you want to know if they're lying or not, look for specifics. If they're vague, the more vague they are, the more likely somebody they're not going to do anything or they're just talking. Right? When you guys go to actual bills and then you say, hey, look, this is your local person. We want you to email them about this specifically. You got to give a guy his roadmap on, how to make progress. The average guy is probably like, hey, I'm not really into politics, but I want things to change. And that's probably the average black American, truthfully. So, keep up the good work. And I'll keep tuned in. All right, guys? So
I appreciate it, Carl.
No problem.
I appreciate it.
All right, so let's get back to Trumpies. I'll let y'all know. If you want to get in on the discussion, please give us a ring. All right, so Trump got to put it or no?
Yeah, so there we go again. We got old Trumpy face. Cover Teflon Don for real because he's Donald Trump. You know what I'm saying? Went ahead. He got impeached twice. Both times he made it out. Without a scar or a scratch on him, man. This kind of reminds me of what the Republicans what they did, man. This is see no evil, speak no evil, hear no evil, right? It's like hey, no matter what the situation calls for or what have you. But this is not even the Republicans, man. This is white America. This is why we could constantly have this over and over and over again, epic after epic after effort after epic. It don't die, man, because that's basically quickly, and it kind of goes to what we were talking about in our last couple of stories ago, right? You know what I'm saying? Is that white? I'm not even gonna call it supremacy. I'm gonna call it white normalization, right? Normalization and domination. It always forgives itself, regardless of what side it's on, right? And we can see how it came down. I watched a little bit of the proceedings. I already knew it was a foregone conclusion. They needed. So a lot of people were confused, right? They thought it was like, well, hey, we see guilty 57. Why, against 43? Why wasn't he convicted? Well, in this particular process, you need a 2/3 majority in the Senate in order to remove a president or prevent in order to convict a president. In this case, it wasn't removed. The main objective was, according to what we were told, was to prevent Donald Trump from being able to run again in the subsequent presidential election, which is in 2024. That was the main, and also to have some sort of accountability, right? You know what I mean? And all on the morning talk shows, there were okay, what was this? What did the Democrats gain? Some said, hey, we got this on the official record. This needed to happen, so on and so forth. This and that. Some sort of moral victory behind what occurred. Right.
Yeah. And then they immediately talked about trying to turn to, other forms of trying to come after him, right? They immediately started talking about civil and personal lawsuits and things like that.
Yeah. Right. One thing I was thinking about is, when we compare other impeachments, how does this compare to the Bill Clinton impeachment trials? And just how Congress moved, because if they didn't consider any of the things they tried to impeach Trump for that serious or having an effect on national security, I just really wonder what Bill Clinton did that was
yeah,
they said he lied.
Exactly.
But Trump lies, and I don't see any. To
that point, Ernest, this came up in the first Trump impeachment, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And they were taking, again, Lindsey Graham, dude. Oh my, he definitely
had your man's them last time.
Right? Man, I really dislike that guy, man. Like 100% dislike Lindsey Graham. Not only is he a phallus sucker, you know what I'm saying?
Oh.
Not only that, you know what I'm saying? Is just like he has absolutely no integrity whatsoever. He's quintessential of what a politician was. But anyways, they were going back and looking at what the things that Lindsey Graham was saying during Clinton's impeachment, right? You know what I mean? And talking because they were focused on high crimes and misdemeanors, because what Clinton was ultimately impeached on was perjury, right? Of him lying under oath about his affair with Monica Lewinsky, which was like trivial, but they had to up it up by saying high crimes and misdemeanors, right? You know what I'm saying? So that reached the level of impeachment. Whereas what Trump did the first time with, trying to get a foreign power, holding up government money that was sanctioned, that was already given to them by Ukraine, by Congress, holding it up for a political favor, that wasn't high enough. Now insurrection isn't high enough. You know what I'm saying? It just goes to like the fakeness and the phoniness of white America generally. You know what I'm saying? That has been in this country, i.e., that we've always suffered as Black people. You know what I mean? The hypocrisy. We're all men are created equal, but you're holding slaves. You know what I'm saying? It's just this constant hypocrisy that just repeats itself over and over again. So with that being said, go ahead, Stedman.
Well, no, you can finish your point.
Yeah. So I was going to actually move on to the next thing, but go ahead, man.
Oh, I was going to say, I look at that a little differently, honestly. I don't look at it as hypocrisy per se, but I look at that more as like Black people live under such oppression, right? We live under such a direct, heavy threat from police, from the justice system, from whatever, that like when you see people who are able to exist in the justice system, the legal system in America, the criminal justice system, in a way that's as actually normal, it's like, wow, this is hypocrisy. But like the law is, we have violent speech protected under law. Now there are, like we talked about, maybe I didn't talk about it here, but there is an actual procedure to determine whether something is incitement or whether it isn't, whether it's incidental or whether it's caused by what you say I'm drawing a blank on what the name of it is. But there's a way to look that up. It's a clause. It happened in Ohio. I think it's Brandenburg versus Ohio. Because Ohio had this law, and they had this law set up about like public decency or something like that. And this Brandenburg was like a KKK leader, and he was having an event, and they charged him with like inciting a riot or whatever. And he challenged the law in Ohio, and the Supreme Court held that it was his protected speech that he could make violent threats because they have an eminence, whatever, where you can determine whether what you say is violent speech has a direct and likely chance that it's going to happen. So even us right now, we could make violent threats against the president even. Now, the FBI might show up to our house to intimidate us because of it. But as long as we don't have anything on us that shows that we're either imminent or likely to do it, they got to leave. So they still intimidate you. And that's kind of what I look at it like here. The law says that you can do what he said, technically. And he did it. Now, you can't necessarily, if you can find a link between him saying we're going to march peacefully down the street to the people taking it upon themselves to crash into the Capitol, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, if you watch the proceeding, they pretty much laid it out. There's a but-for case for Donald Trump, which was even McConnell was like, look, man, it was a hook, line, and sinker. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. That the rally was organized for that purpose. They were there, but for Trump. They went to the Capitol, but for Trump. You have people literally on as they were, in the Capitol. And they were saying Trump told us to be here. They were reading his tweets. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. But you gotta find.
I'm kind of, but that but for has to apply to, like, this is the thing. I'm not trying to defend him, but I was a little scrutinizing of the whole persecution as well, in the sense that yes, he told them to march there, but they marched there, and then what? They marched there. Then what happened? Nobody would be talking about this now if they did exactly what was said, which was the march there. Now
peacefully.
They pushing over fences, they climbing walls, they going in the building. I'm saying, like, I'm not saying that he didn't have some fuel to that fire, but the question is, did his words explicitly lead to that fence being pushed over? Did he actually? Is there a causal relationship between his words and the pushing of that fence?
So. Yeah, I think so. And also, if you look at what was stated between was it McCarthy, Kevin McCarthy, and his phone call to Donald Trump, and the exchange that happened between Donald Trump and him when Kevin was asking him, hey, you need to call this off, and Donald Trump was like, it looks like you're not as mad about the election as the people were. I mean, bro, it's pretty laid out. But here's the thing. Before we even go about this,
that shows intention. You just said shows intention that he doesn't care or he had an intention to do it. But the case that's being made isn't about what he was desiring. It's about what did he actually do? Because I could intend for you to die and tell people to go find you. But if they stab you, I didn't tell them to stab you. I may have a desire to not send the police to help you. But I didn't say stab anybody. I said go find them. So I'm not saying that he doesn't have anything to do with it, but I didn't feel like their case was as strong as it could have been. And they probably should have went in on a different charge rather than the one they chose.
Well, first and foremost, it's a political. It's not a legal court. So so it doesn't even have to reach that level of, like, if you were in an actual courthouse and we're going to find, you're taking life, liberty, from somebody. That's, beyond a reasonable doubt. It doesn't have to reach that high of a degree, because it's a political process. But it's not a legal criminal process. He can't go to jail. You know what I'm saying?
But the thing about, like, even when you look at what McConnell said, though, he said all that because what? Because he knew he was still going to vote he was going to vote to acquit. You know what I'm saying? So I can say whatever I want to say. He's a terror, and even he still made out. He said he's morally responsible and practically, but he didn't say legally. And I feel like even if we say this is a political experience or a political exercise, the fact that you say somebody is morally responsible has no bearing in a courtroom. And even though this is not a technical courtroom, you still have a judge and a jury.
It does. More responsibility can lead to civil responsibility. You can be
Well,
charged civilly, even though you can,
it
even
can.
if you may not be legally, you can be charged in a civil court and have a suit brought against you. So that's not necessarily true. But in this case,
Well, what I'm talking about in the instance of acquittal here, though, I'm talking about specifically, like, because that rep from Mississippi is bringing a suit against him and Giuliani. But I'm saying specifically in this impeachment.
Outside of it.
I mean, if here's the thing, if you can have a civil suit go against you, then and you could be found. Okay, ultimately,
OJ didn't do that.
Let's move on. We can talk. I like
good dialogue.
The devil's advocate of it. You know what I'm saying?
No, I believe this. This ain't devil's advocate, baby. This is I watched the Panthers, dog. Eldridge Cleaver said they should kill Richard Nixon, baby. I like free speech.
Yeah, I mean, you could use free speech. That doesn't mean that that doesn't mean that that what your actions can't be liable for something. And in this case, like I said, it's a different bar. We're not talking about a criminal, repercussion. This will be a political process that will bar him from being, running from any political federal office or political office, state or what have you.
Well, what about the counter argument to fight? I mean, that's the only key word you got left after you talk about, because we're talking about
fight?
Even the scope of the charge had to do with inciting violence. Did they not limit the scope to his words on that podium?
He did use the word fight.
Well, I'm saying, is the scope of his actions that create the incitation of the action?
It wasn't just on that podium. They looked at everything leading up to. So him, saying that that the election was fraudulent, it really wasn't. It was multiple things. It wasn't just what he said on the podium. It was everything put into context before, during, after. They covered the whole thing. What
I mean? In that regard, then the guy who's not killed, he shot that senator. I think it wasn't Louis Gohmert, was it, from Louisiana? At the softball game, the congressional softball game, he was a Bernie supporter. He shot them Republican. Like, then Bernie got to get convicted. You know what I'm saying? Because he talked about a revolution. He talked about the millionaires and billionaires. He talked about the establishment in a negative way. And one of his supporters went out and shot at members of Congress directly because he believed, that was what he should do based on what his indoctrination was. I mean, it's a slippery slope.
The main difference behind that and this was that he didn't put a rally up on the day that the Congress was actually going to be, counting and putting electoral votes and causing legal election. He didn't. So it's. I see what you're saying, but it's not exactly the same thing.
Well, yeah, but it's legal to do what he did.
Let's agree to disagree.
Yeah,
we're gonna jump into we're gonna jump into the next session. You good with that, Gerard?
Sure, go ahead, man.
All right. So yeah, guys, as we normally do, we're about to go ahead and jump into your mans and them. We just want to give you guys our daily winners for this week. And by winners we really mean, the worst losers of
everybody loses.
Yeah. You are listening to your man's now. It's your man's. Hey, who man's is this? Hey, who man's is this? Hey, who man's is this?
Whose man's is this? I need to know. I really need to know.
All right, man. What's the first one up? We're gonna talk about Nancy first.
No, we could talk about the let's go ahead and cover Nancy first, because it ties into what we're talking about with these politicians, having no moral integrity and at the same time just being pretty good politicians. So a lot of word salad and us just falling for the okie doke again and again.
All right, let's hit the video.
I think our country needs a strong Republican Party. It's very important. And for him to try to have it every which way. But we will be going forward to make sure that this never happens again in terms of what to investigate and evaluate what caused this and both in terms of the motivation, but also in terms of the security that we have to have as we go forward, recognizing how inflaming even some of our elected officials can be. Oh, these cowardly senators who couldn't face up to what the president did and what was at stake for our country are now going to have a chance to give a little slap on the wrist. We censure people for using stationery for the wrong purpose. We don't censure people for inciting insurrection that kills people in the Capitol.
So, as you can
We
see,
chose this one, man.
these are the clips I chose because, with the first clip, she basically stated how they want a strong Republican Party. I mean, why would you want a strong party of those who are opposing every value that your party supposedly represents? And so that just goes to show you that they're on the same team. So if you guys ever watched that movie, Irresistible, with Stephen Carroll, it just shows you how the elitists that are in Washington, they're on the same side no matter what we think. Those corporate sponsors feed both parties. And that's kind of, I don't know what Nancy believes the Republican Party should be, but at the end of the day, the Democrats shouldn't be whimpering to their needs, and they should be doing things, with their majority vote now, but without doing that, we'll still get the same consequences and the same issues. And so then to touch on the second video, right? The second video, she comes in there and she's like, oh, these weak and cowardly senators couldn't do what they needed to do. These were the same senators that passed the crime rights, the crime bill of 1994 and all of these other prior years. And so these same cowardly senators were the same people who starved the Black community of opportunities and created all of these disparities across the board. So for her to feign ignorance and say, oh, look at how cowardly they are and why can't they do the right thing, is just to show you that even you, Nancy, you haven't done the right thing, and you probably won't continue to do so, but you'll continue playing to your base and saying that here's the things we need to do to go forward, on a unified front for the country at X, Y, and Z, but really that's not what they believe, because if they did, then we would see some type of racial justice for our people. So I just wanted to add that in on Nancy. You guys wanted to jump in on that?
Well, this is the thing for me that's always surprising. So, like, people are like, XYZ Republican. I can't believe, I was listening to a show earlier today, I can't believe all these Republicans who claim they love America will get out here and do this or whatever. Like, all these people that you have, they never been shit. Lindsey Graham ain't never been shit. Mitch McConnell ain't never been shit. They haven't ever been shit. And so they didn't just start being ain't shit right now. And so to think you're going to appeal to their better judgment, or to think that for the lack of better ideas, right, they would be doing something else. Like, the fuck, man? These people is monsters, and they have been. Both sides. I'm not trying to make any, but at least with a Democratic person, you could say they pretend to care about the people. They pretend to care about workers. They pretend to care about minorities, whatever that means. They pretend to care about diversity. These people ain't never been shit. You know what I'm saying? They were they became the party that the Democrats used to be. They became the party of the racists in the South and the slave owners and all that shit. They've never been shit. So why are you surprised that right in this moment they would get up and say, we're not gonna convict our homeboy who let us be in the White House for 4 years, who put all our judges up, who did everything we asked him to do except talk nice. We're going to let him go. Why would you be surprised? I'm surprised Joe Manchin didn't vote for the motherfucker to get out of there. Honestly, that's the more shocking thing for me. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like people want to pull clutch. This country is horrible. That's one thing I hope you learn from watching our show. That this country is horrible. And every time you think you've learned the worst about it, you can always find something worse. That's what I want you to learn. America is fucked. And by the time we're done with this show, I want you to know how fucked it is. There is no redeeming quality.
I mean, and for me, it was definitely no freaking surprise because, as I was saying to someone, when you can, when you can sit up and say, and we could talk about this over and over again, all the through lines throughout history of all of the hypocritical, negative stuff that's happened to Black people. They knew we were human, you know what I'm saying? They, you know, but you know, they had to come up with this lie to say why they're justifying them doing the dirt that they need to do, right? You know, they knew we were human, they knew we had souls, you know, they knew we were capable. Obviously, they wouldn't have brought us over here to exploit us, you know what I'm saying, as they do.
They wouldn't have raped us.
You know what I'm saying? Exactly. They was raping us, you know, all types of different ways, but the ends justify, the means justified the ends, I guess. You know what I'm saying? And so, you know, and this is the white normalization, because I'm not going to ever refer to it as supremacy, because it's not supreme on any particular oh no, man, it's white normalization. It's what it is to make awful. Yeah, what it is to make the hypocritical, the awful, the disaster, the ghastly, you know, to make it, you know, normal, to make it, you know, okay, to make it, you know, to explain it away, you know, white-splain it. You know how they say mansplaining? You know what I'm saying? This is white when you got, you know, when you got somebody, you know, when they explain, well, free, you know, I'm gonna hit on your topic earlier, but to me that's white-splaining. Hey, this, and we got free speech. You know what I'm saying? Like,
hey, what I'm saying,
Black people ain't never had free speech.
I agree with what. Here's how you got to look at that. This is why, you know, this is because I used to feel that way. Like, man, some shit is off the table. But here's what I had to understand: when you advocate for restrictions on free speech, it don't hurt Donald Trump, right? It's gonna hurt us. They're gonna cut our YouTube channel, right? They're not gonna cut his bread. They're gonna cut ours. So if as long as I can say, man, fuck this country until it change and be fine, or worse. I'm not gonna risk saying worse, but as long as I can say that and get away with it, that's all I got. You know what I'm saying?
Now listen to me. I'm not advocating for nobody to go to jail behind what they say. But here's the thing: free speech ain't free. There's consequences behind it. Like, I could go up and I could tell the biggest, blackest motherfucker in the planet, you ain't shit, bitch, and I fucked your mama and your daddy. You know what I'm saying? Now, there's consequences to that. I might get my fucking head knocked the fuck off. I better be prepared for the consequences or deal it. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, so here's the thing: the consequences behind what Trump did at the minimum level. Don't we ain't talking about no damn jail time. You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, 7 people died, dog. So, like, that's the real.
But the free speech law, apply to the government.
Set that shit up. Come on, bro.
Put it this way, though.
You got the RICO Act. Look at that shit.
Free speech ain't never been free. But let's put it this way: if any black leader or a black person, modern or in the past, were to come forward and urge black people to say, "Look at what the government has done to us. Look at the shitty position we've been in for 200 years. Rise up, rise up, rise up." That is revolution, and that is not free speech.
Talk free speech shit to all the motherfuckers in jail right now behind RICO cases, dog, on conspiracy cocaine. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
Eldridge Cleaver.
You know what I mean?
Eldridge Cleaver was on the firing line with William F. Buckley, cuz. You can find this video.
Yeah.
He said, they asked him, William F. Buckley was like, hey, did you say that you hope somebody assassinates Richard Nixon? He said, yes. On TV. He said, yes. He said, I would never try to coerce somebody to do it, not publicly.
No, we still did. I don't know why we didn't, bro.
No, hey.
We gotta say that. I think I posted his Instagram, find it. But he said, but Eldridge Cleaver said, I still want somebody to assassinate Nixon. He said, I wouldn't try to force him to do it, not publicly, not in front of all these cameras. He said, but behind closed doors, I might help him do it. I might help him prepare to do it on TV. H.R. Brown, when Huey Newton was in jail, H.R. Brown said, how many honkies did you kill today at a rally?
But mind you, there is. But guess what? They had.
I'm just saying, because my heroes is reckless. I got to be reckless. I got to be reckless.
So we gotta go to the next one, yo. Before we get right to YouTube, let me go on ahead and hit this one. Y'all listen. So this is Black History Month, right? So everything you expect to see from your officials during this month of excellence and historical perspective.
Black excellence.
What?
I said Black excellence.
Right. So this month of Black excellence, everything you're supposed to be seeing is supposed to be edifying the community of this country and uplifting our story, our heritage, and everything in between. So we're going to go ahead and talk about something that was recently put out by the White House in the middle of Black History Month and spread around as if this is the real story we need to be talking about right now. And I don't think so. And then we're going to take a caller we got in a few minutes. So hang tight. Let's watch this quick video.
We are a nation of immigrants,
of indigenous peoples,
coming together from all walks of life and all corners of the earth to make a more perfect union.
I was born and raised in the Pueblo of Poacan, one of 23 federally recognized tribes in New Mexico.
My family immigrated from Zimbabwe in 1997 when we were small children to pursue education here in the United States.
I am a daughter of immigrants.
We immigrated from Brazil to the U.S. in 2001. And that process, from what I remember as a 6-year-old, was fairly simple. What I remember not being so simple has been the journey to...
All right, was that video freezing for y'all?
No.
It was I was just throwing up. You might have heard that.
Anyway, I guess I'm doing too much. It was freezing for me, so I didn't think everyone got it. But the essence of the video is here, though, right? The essence of the video is that they're promoting this idea that America is made up of really primarily or really only two groups: indigenous people and their descendants, and then immigrants and their descendants. And I was pissed. Everybody in this country should be pissed that they care about Black lives, because Black people didn't come from indigenous nor immigrants, not in this country. And we were actually
wait up, talk to Ben Carson. Ben Carson
said you gonna anger some people who believe we came from indigenous people.
Ben Carson said you got workers.
On that tip that we from indigenous, we came here on a boat. We came here on a boat, and that's it. Period. And so I'm not talking about our, less than 10% of Black immigrants and their descendants. That's not what I'm talking about. Put them over there in the immigrant column. The only reason America is the country that all these immigrants came to is because of the abuse and the atrocities committed against the descendants of American chattel slavery and the actual chattel slaves themselves, which are our ancestors. For someone to put out a video like this in the middle of Black History Month is not only insensitive, but it's just immoral and just inhumane. It's damn near inhumane because you ran over us in the middle of our own damn month. So I really should be saying some stuff that's on the level that that Stedman was saying, that pop off as individuals. Potentially high power in the White House and in the U.S. government, because it's ridiculous. And and this is the thing that really ticks me off. Here's the salient point. I wouldn't be so upset about this if there were other people out there who are willing to handle this work. And the problem is, no other Black people in this damn country are trying to push back on this in any measurable way. The White House should have took that video down. It should have been deleted. It should have been destroyed. It should not have been used during Black History Month, and someone should be in jail.
It highlights something though. Like really, it shows you how asleep our own people are. That the America's able to push those messages and not even be slapped on the hand. And then at the same time, it shows you just how much of a culprit these other minority groups are when they start talking about racial justice in America. Because if we're believing in their narrative, everybody came over here and they all deserve a right to opportunity and access, and let your whole family in. But we're going to ignore these people who's had their family broken up, who've been raped, who've been killed, lynching laws, all of this that had to be created for them. We're going to ignore these people and say everybody else deserves a chance. And to me, that's just unfair. And that's why I'm not an advocate for pro-immigration at this moment. So, with that being the case, go ahead, Gerard.
I was going to say, and the reasons why, can we bring up we have to add to your mans and them in this section, man. Your boy is running for governor.
His name is Austin Chingy.
Yeah, we gotta bring him up, man. You know, like the person that came up in the chat, we gotta bring him up, bro. You know,
Austin the Black Panther Chingy. Austin the Black Panther Chingy. Hey, go to his Instagram and watch the video. They don't have a video with him saying this, but just to hear him talk, dog, he really trying not to let that Nigerian accent come out, man. He's trying his hardest. He's talking so slow.
He's pulling the Idris.
We're not against people with accents, but we against.
No. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying
tomfoolery.
I'm saying he trying to be a Republican because he want them to just think he's a regular Negro. He's trying his best to just hide in that. I'm coming.
Yeah,
his shit say Grand Rapids. It don't even say Nigeria like on his website. It say he's from Grand Rapids. You from Nigeria, cuz?
So again, I mean, we're talking about it, but let's this guy said he was going to. He's running for governor on the Republican side of the House. He's saying he will cancel Black History Month in Michigan. It's offensive, unfair, maybe illegal. Americans from all backgrounds deserve a reverent history. I'll declare American History Month, August Chenge, veteran and first Republican governor candidate from Michigan, visit Austin for governor. Now, obviously, this was a play, you know, to the white base, to get attention. Now, we'll see how much tread this is going to have beyond this month. I doubt
not just the white base, just also the conservative immigrant base. That is America that's voting, because he's saying all walks, all people deserve to have their revered month, and not understanding that just to show you they got the same skin, but not any skin in the game that we're playing in America when it comes to getting our racial justice. Because he's saying, you know, that Black History Month is offensive, not even understanding why it had to be created.
Right.
That's the essence of it. Like,
and he may very well understand, because this man has been in the country for multiple years. So I doubt that he doesn't understand. This is a freaking play. Right. This is what many shows back that I said, hey, Donald Trump opened the paradigm. You know what I'm saying? This is what we're going to be seeing from here on out. So this whole push to get Donald Trump out in 2020, you know, as if this was going to go and be, you know, recess and all, you know, go back into the hole that it came from. No, bro, you know, first and foremost, it ain't really that much of a hole. It's just out there. But you know, now it's politically
it ain't a hole.
And you could gain a lot of traction off of this, you know. And this is the problem. But I think we had a caller, right, Darville?
I was frozen. No, they're gone. Go ahead.
Oh man, they left. We're doing bad at this. But anyway,
we're gonna have to take them as soon as they call. Almost. I mean, shoot.
Yeah.
But what I want to say. So back to the immigration video. As mad as you are, Darville, and I mean, I'm that mad too. It's not, you know, I'm not trying to like single you out like you're irrational. They just started putting immigrant and indigenous. Like, imagine being an Indian, Native American. I don't know which one they prefer. This your country, and they say America's a country of immigrants. Like, well, where the fuck was we?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
They did that late, didn't they?
You know, so I mean, I put that on the same level. But I mean, because this was theirs first, it's just like, man, y'all erased from the shit, and it's yours. Like, y'all don't have nowhere else to go. You know what I'm saying? So they, you know, this country fucked, man. That's what I'm saying. Even like I said earlier, every time you see something bad, every time you see something bad, it's worse. It's always worse. It's always worse.
Now they trying to, you know, have everything perfumed, but really it's still shit. So, you know, this sounds nice and it looks nice, but at the end of the day, we can't do nothing with it. Like, it's not helping us as a people. So, you know, shit, it's only gonna get worse from there, because you know everybody trying to be politically correct, censored, all type of shit. So it's almost going to be how much can you say without being characterized as some type of devil or radical MAGA or something. So
True story.
Well, we definitely are not going to be monetized.
We ain't got to worry about that one. We doing this for the
Start
love.
selling merch.
We doing this for the love.
We bringing the truth to y'all. You know what I mean? We gonna
Right.
be just like Army in a second. You know what I'm saying? Real
Right.
quick. You want to see this? Continue
Don't
to see
white unemployable.
but nonetheless, that is still, you know, going back to what we were talking about earlier. That's still part of free speech. That's a response, right? You know, when the more raw you are, you know what I'm saying. You there's consequences to it. You know what I'm saying? But only in white America, where you know everybody else is held responsible and has consequences, have to deal with it, but except for your ass. You know what I mean?
But free speech is against the government. It's protection from the government. So I mean, if more of us made our pleas,
this motherfucker was overthrowing it. The government. That's what he was trying to get a legal process. He sent his mob to get a legal process, freaking unturned, because he wanted to stay in office, bro. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts.
You can't prove that.
Oh, yes, you can, mother.
You can't prove that.
Shit, his Twitter, maybe his Twitter.
Man.
Yeah, that shit was definitely proven. What the hell you talking about, man? You white-splaining
to
me.
The glove don't fit, you must quit.
You white-splaining to me now, bro.
Hey, whatever then I'm wrong.
You pissing on me telling me it's rain, man.
Hey,
we gotta wrap this one up.
Yeah.
Okay. So hey,
what we want to do? Closing remarks. That's what.
Yeah. So, what you got to close them out, man?
Shit, man.
I don't know who to ask. Listen, I thank everybody for joining the show today. Really appreciate our caller. Always have the freedom to call in. And the biggest thing is, listen, you have to be politically engaged in this process as a American descendant of freedmen in this country. And anybody who has any sense, who isn't out, like most of the countries involved in a political process, one way or the other, I would say our community is probably the most retracted from it because we've been abused by it. So we need to be engaged into change that paradigm. And this is the only way. Reparations is the only solution to our social economic issue. And anybody who tries to walk you around that is just leading you down a black hole that you can't get out of. So stay tuned. We're going to keep the pedal to the metal. What you got, Gerard?
Hey, man, again, thanks everybody for coming. I apologize. That was my audio that was causing the issue. I'll definitely figure that out next time. But as I always state, man, we have no permanent friends. We have no permanent enemies. We only have permanent interests. And our permanent interest is in this thing called, reparations, right? We want you all to stay focused, keep on top of, and also and be involved in your local politics. Now, we focus primarily in Michigan and in the southeast area of Michigan, the Detroit area, metropolitan area. But for those who are outside of the area, get involved in and pay attention to your local politics, because everything's local. At the end of the day.
Yep. What's up, Ernest?
Man, I was going to say thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and also share this video if you really found it entertaining or interesting. And then at the same time, just to recap some stuff we went over earlier, HR 40, which is the bill to study reparations. Right now, we believe that it may be passed, but even if it is, just understand that there is advocacy work that you guys can do or support on a collective level. So I would say, make sure you guys check out the description of this video. We're going to try to put another link template in there as far as what you could email the U.S. Congress, as far as, adding some more specificity in this bill, as well as a possible tangible result. So, stay tuned for that. And, as always, thanks for watching.
And Stedman, what you closing us out with, sir?
Kind of like what I just said earlier, I want for us to be able to to remove any disillusion that anybody has about this country. I want you to come to this show with the full understanding that we're going to try to give you the full unadulterated historical truth, right? Of what's going on here, of how this country was built, sustained, maintained, and all of that. So, if you do have anybody who's particular to America or who's overly patriotic, I'm not going to tell you to leave, because I want you to change your mind. So understand that, I'm not a flag waving guy. I'm not none of that. You know what I'm saying? I'm here because I'm born here, and I'm fighting here because my people die here, and I refuse to let their death go in vain. So this is my opportunity to try to give some political outreach with 3 of my friends, and I hope that you enjoy what we're talking about, and I hope that you can laugh, and I hope that you can cry, but ultimately I hope that you can continue to fight. So this place is fucked. It's fucked more than you could ever imagine, and we're gonna try to change it. And you just got to keep watching. We appreciate you being here.
Like he said, got to keep watching. Until next time, y'all. Peace.
Peace.